What if your symptoms are not the problem? What if they're your body's message to restore balance? You have tried all the great diets. You cut out carbs. You've done all the latest wellness techniques. There's no one size fits all. The answer may not be in the latest gimmick. It may be in restoring balance. Health is related to restoring harmony. You can't heal your body if your mind is in chaos. Once the body is balanced, it can create healing, harmony, and total health. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Gut Feeling podcast, where we digest modern medicine with old world wisdom. And today we're going to jump right into an exciting topic. Really, it is the summary of everything that you need to know to achieve health today. I am Dr. Alexandra Shustina, your host of this weekly podcast, and I am excited to talk to you about what real health is. What is really a holistic approach to health? And that is a balance to nutrition and a balance to healing. And ultimately, it's really creating that balance in our body that creates true health. So if you are somewhere on the left, the key is bringing you closer to the center. If you're somewhere on the right, the key is bringing you a little to the left to bring you closer to center. If you're too hot, it's to bring you a little more cool. And if you're too excited, it's to bring you down to a level of calm. So it's different for every person because we are all, to some degree, not perfectly balanced, but all in different ways. And this is the beauty of the targeted and precise approach to healing rather than the one-size-fits-all that we've seen that doesn't work. So what really is a holistic approach? What really is taking the whole body into account when we create a healing program for someone or when we decide what's right for ourselves? We take a look at the person's constitution. We take a look at the person's emotional state, and we bring that into a state of balance. When the body's in a state of balance, it can heal itself. So we can really create true lasting health, not by fighting the body, not by fighting a disease, not by targeting a diagnosis, but by creating balance in the body. Once the body is balanced, it can create healing, harmony, and total health. So when we have symptoms, common symptoms, gas, bloating, even anxiety or indigestion or sleeplessness, insomnia, those are signs that our body's out of balance and we need to bring it back to balance. It's very, very simple. It may not be easy and it may not be quick, but it's very, very simple. Let's look at some of the traditional models that really highlight this, because if we look at all the old traditional cultures that have really had many years of healing techniques, they all bring the body into balance. That is the key to true healing. This is the hallmark of traditional Chinese medicine. Yin and yang, hot and cold, damp and dry. Neither one is good or bad. It has to be in a state of balance. And the yin and yang are not opposing forces. They're complementary forces. So we have organs. The center of the digestion, according to traditional Chinese medicine, lies in the stomach and in the spleen meridians. And they're paired organs, just like the liver and the gallbladder, just like the lung and the large intestine. One is yin and one is yang. The stomach is the yang organ. It's the one that produces the energy. It's the one that accepts the food. The spleen is the yin organ. It's the one that provides the protection and the nourishment, and one can't function well without the other. They work in harmony. And we want to make sure that someone doesn't have too much heat or too much cold. So if someone feels hot, physically hot, or if they're hot in an emotional state, they're easily triggered, they're angry, they're anxious, they can't sleep, well, then you want to give them cooling foods. Cooling foods could be a smoothie or fresh fruits and vegetables. But if they're already too cool and they're cold and maybe they're low energy, you want to give them heating foods. So a smoothie is not the answer for these people. Something like a hot soup might be the answer. So it's not about one food, which is good for everyone. Yes, there are universal principles that processed food, ultra-processed foods, preservatives, chemicals, Those are not good for anyone. But out of the good foods, it's really about choosing the right foods for your body at this current state of health, which has to do with which direction you have shifted off balance. It is very, very simple. So what are some foods that we can eat if we need warming foods, if we are too cold? Warming foods can include things like ginger, you guessed it, ginger, garlic, onions, lamb, all foods that we can use to increase our heat, especially for people who are cold and depleted. Now, if you are the opposite, your heat is high and you need to eat cooling foods, well, cucumbers, watermelon, raw fruits and vegetables, smoothies, salads, all great things to kind of take down that heat. Now, what about dampness and dryness? So what are symptoms of dampness? Things like yeast overgrowth. So if you feel sticky and puffy and you're retaining water, that is a sign of a dampness. Now, if on the other hand, your balance is shifting towards dryness, then things like constipation or feeling thirsty, you may feel like you have trouble going to the bathroom or your stools are hard. That may be a sign of a dry constitution. What foods can we eat if we are damp? Things like cooked grains, cooked vegetables, legumes. And what about dryness? What foods do we eat if we're dry? Things like healthy seafoods, like salmon and sardines and seaweed are all great for dryness. There's so much more to it. We have just touched the surface. But we are getting the idea that really it's all about choosing the right foods, the right lifestyle, the right choices for our morning routine to create balance in our bodies. Now, what if our thoughts are out of balance? What do we do? Because some people are a little too high strung and in their head all day, and some people are a little too lethargic. How do we get our mind into balance? Well, the first thing is recognize the process. Let's say you are an anxious type. So it's important to take the time to calm yourself down. So even breath work, there's breath work that can stimulate and breath work that can calm down. So things like box breathing, very relaxing type of breathing, slow, deep breathing, that can calm someone down. So if you're on the agitated, the anxious type, then that breathing is perfect. But let's say you are kind of like sluggish and slow and feeling exhausted, then Wim Hof could be the type of breath work for you. And there's many different kinds of breath work. So really, it's really recognizing where you're at and bringing yourself into balance. Now, you could use this for anything. So let's say you are too strict with yourself, which is me. So I can be extremely perfectionist. I can be really hard on myself. And I've gotten myself to the point where I've really burnt out. So what did I do? I had to swing the other way in order to get into balance. I completely took some time off where I disconnected from work, from reality, and just relaxed. It was hard for me, but it was really in order to create balance and bring me down to the center. So if that's you, then maybe you need that. But if you are the other type, maybe you can't get going in the morning, you're not achieving your goals, you're not hitting the goals like you wanted to, you can't wake up in the morning, then you may need to set your alarm earlier. Set 5 alarms, jump out of bed, and make a very strict schedule for yourself with incentives to stay on track for your schedule. So everything works like that. It's not just food, it's not just physical health, it's really creating balance in the body. This clearly applies to the microbiome, and we love talking about the microbiome because it is so central to gut health. And what makes a healthy microbiome? Are the bugs good? Well, some are better, but what do we really want? We don't want too much or too little, because too much is an overgrowth, and we know that that can cause all kinds of problems. But too little, guess what? They studied animals that really had almost a sterile microbiome, and they had almost no immune system. They could barely survive. So we don't want too much or too little or too much of any specific organism. We want everything in balance. And actually, that is what creates balance, because these bugs check each other. So when we have enough of good bug X, well, maybe bug Y, which is good in smaller populations, stays checked. So it's all about balance. The microbiome needs to be balanced. Our emotional state needs to be balanced. Our personalities in my perfect world are balanced. Yes, none of us are exactly the same and none of us are in a perfect state. And some of us lean towards one direction or lean towards the other, but it's really about balance for ourselves. So if we are too extreme in one thing, it's really about bringing us to our state of center and balanced and harmony. And that is ultimately what creates health in our lives. Gut health isn't just about food or how your intestines work or how your bowel movements are functioning. It's also about how you think and feel and live. So chronic stress, anxiety, any type of extreme emotions affect your gut health profoundly. We talk about this a lot and it's so clearly seen. So it's important to address that imbalance. There's so many amazing ways: breath work, meditation, mindfulness, journaling, gratitude, walks in nature. That is all balancing. Walking on natural soil or sand are really great ways to balance through grounding. Spending time in nature, spending time in the water, all great ways to create balance in your day, balance in your emotions, and balance in your thoughts. So here's your invitation. Before you jump on the next supplement or the next fancy test, try another plan. What would bring my body into balance? And it's not a static goal. It's not like, okay, you're going to be in balance today and tomorrow it's not going to go off in a different direction. No, it's a flow. It's a constant movement. So today you're a little to the left, you brought yourself to the right, maybe too much, you bring yourself back. And that's the beauty. It's the constant growth towards balance. And that will ultimately create lasting health in our mind, body, and soul. So thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you all next week. If you like what you've heard, please find us on wholegut.com. Stay healthy, stay gutsy, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon.